Welcome to Furniture Industry News. Today is May 11th, 2026, and I'm glad you're here. We've got a lot to cover this week, from what's happening to the middle of the furniture market, to some sobering numbers on brand loyalty, to what the best operators took away from High Point Market. Let's get into it. Let's start with the big picture, because there's a theme running through everything this week. The middle is disappearing. Here's what's been happening. Over the past 18 months or so, rising costs for necessities, groceries, gas, utilities, have eaten into discretionary budgets, starting at the lower end of the income spectrum and slowly moving up. According to Furniture Today, U.S. consumer credit card debt hit $1.28 trillion in the fourth quarter of 2025. That's a 5.5% increase over the prior year. The personal savings rate is down more than 6% since early 2024, and 61% of cardholders are now carrying that debt for at least a year. Last year, that number was 53%. What that means for furniture is that the shoppers who used to drive volume in the promotional and lower mid segments, they're squeezed. Some have left the market entirely. But here's the twist. Higher income consumers are still shopping. They just want value. So they're trading down, looking for something worth buying at a price that feels smart right now. And the producers who saw this coming have been moving up market to find them. The result is a slow squeeze toward the center. Promotional producers moving up, higher-end producers competing harder on price. Both sides chasing the same shrinking pool of consumers who have money to spend. Furniture Today's Bill McLaughlin called it directly. This is a compression of the market, and it's happening now. That's the structural story. Now let's talk tariffs, because what looked like good news last week is more complicated than it appeared. On May 6th, the U.S. Court of International Trade struck down a set of global tariffs, saying the administration had exceeded its legal authority. That news traveled fast through the industry.
But before anyone starts counting savings on their next container, here's the reality check. Jackson Wood, Director of Industry Strategy for Global Trade Intelligence at supply chain company Descartes, put it plainly in Furniture Today. These rulings don't fundamentally change the tariff pressure importers face. The administration is already pursuing new legal pathways, specifically Section 301 and Section 232 actions, to rebuild tariff levels through mechanisms that will hold up in court. Wood's view is that tariff volatility will be a structural feature of the global economy for at least 3 more years. And there's a wrinkle for importers trying to claim refunds on duties they've already paid. According to Wood, filing for a refund invites customs scrutiny. Some companies expecting a refund check have instead discovered errors in prior customs filings. That's an expensive surprise, and it's worth knowing before you submit. The volume numbers back up the cautious tone. U.S. imports from China fell more than 15% year-over-year in April, according to Descartes' Global Shipping Report, and are now more than 33% below their peak from July 2024. Furniture and bedding made up 15.7% of total China-origin import volume. Meanwhile, the National Retail Federation and Hackett Associates project that import volumes will drop below last year's levels in early fall as retailers stay conservative on inventory. Ray Allegreza, editor emeritus at Furniture Today, raised a broader point that's worth sitting with. When tariff costs went up, companies explained it loudly. When some of those costs may be coming down, the room goes quiet. He argued that gap in communication is becoming a trust issue, and it's one that affects how consumers think about furniture prices specifically. Now let's talk about something that cuts even deeper than tariffs for the long term: brand loyalty. According to new research from Provoke Insights, furniture ranks among the lowest categories in brand loyalty across 13 sectors. The survey polled 1,500 U.S. residents between the ages of 21 and 65 in March 2026. Only about 1/3 of consumers say brand name is important to them when shopping for furniture, and nearly half, 47%, say they'd buy an unbranded item if the price were lower.
When consumers do show loyalty, quality is the top driver, cited by 53%. But the flip side matters just as much. The top reasons consumers leave a furniture brand are declining quality at 34%, price increases at 31%, a bad personal experience at 20%, and poor customer service at 17%. Here's something that should feel like an opportunity. Consumers haven't labeled furniture as expensive. Only 22% of shoppers noticed price increases in furniture stores, compared to 73% for gas and 72% for supermarkets. The category hasn't been written off, but it also hasn't built the kind of emotional loyalty that keeps shoppers from looking elsewhere. When consumers feel overwhelmed by options, they rely most on brand recognition, cited by 53%, and customer reviews at 40%. That tells you where the investment needs to go. Now for a story with a different tone, because High Point Market earlier this spring gave the industry some real reason for optimism, at least for the operators who showed up with something to say. Traffic was down for most showrooms. That's been the story for a while. But the companies that had strong markets weren't chasing traffic. They were earning intentional buyers. Lifestyle Enterprise CEO Michael Shih reported that his showroom saw a 34% increase in attendance compared to last April. More importantly, they welcomed 70 new or previously inactive customers. His read, buyers at all price points are looking for value, and companies that deliver it clearly are winning that business. Universal Furniture called it a breakout market for their upholstery line, which they launched just weeks before the show. President Sean O'Connor said they told a different story through their seating, with re-engineered cushions that drew positive responses across the board. Universal's evolution from a case goods company to a full home resource played a central role. David Workman, Natuzzi's chief commercial officer for North America, offered what might be the clearest summary of the current moment. Traffic is no longer the story. What we're seeing is fewer interactions but far more intentional ones, and they're converting into real commitments. Kuka Homes president Matt Harrison credited expanded factory capacity in Vietnam for what he called one of the best markets the company has ever had.
And Coaster Fine Furniture saw something they described as an encouraging sign, buyers returning after years away. New programs around freight discounts, tiered pricing, and exclusive product options brought them back. Coaster's general manager Mindy Lightwine said they are not the same company they were, and buyers are noticing. On the bedding side, Sheila Long O'Mara, Furniture Today's executive editor, noted a clear shift in how growth is being built. The traditional levers, more stores, more SKUs, more inventory, are harder to pull right now. What's working instead is partnership. Companies like Purple Innovation working more closely with Mattress Firm, digital brands redirecting consumer traffic into physical stores, suppliers and retailers aligning more tightly on product and strategy. The common theme: you can do more together than either party can do alone. Before we wrap up, two workforce trends worth flagging because they have real implications for how furniture businesses operate day to day. According to a Software Finder survey of U.S. professionals, 53% of employees feel concerned that AI tools will make their roles feel less necessary. And nearly 70% of employees said they don't receive enough time and support before performance expectations are set during software rollouts. That disconnect between technology adoption and human readiness is a management challenge, not just a technology one. On the leadership side, Safety Culture surveyed just over 1,000 U.S. frontline managers in August and September of 2025. 66% of those managers said they would rather not be in a leadership role if given the choice. The main reasons: heavy workloads, administrative burden, and limited support. The concern is that as fewer employees step into leadership and existing managers burn out, the pipeline for operational talent gets thinner. For retailers managing stores and service teams, both of those findings point to the same thing. The systems and culture you build around your people are increasingly your competitive advantage. Technology matters, but only when the people using it feel equipped. So what's the takeaway from this week?
The furniture industry is operating in a trust deficit right now. Consumers don't fully trust that price relief will reach them. Employees aren't sure their skills stay relevant. Operators are uncertain about their cost structures. That's a hard environment to win in, but not an impossible one. The businesses gaining ground this week share something. They stopped waiting for the environment to stabilize and started building for the environment as it is. Clear product, strong partnerships, a floor that earns the intentional buyer, a value story that survives comparison. The middle of this market still exists. It just belongs to whoever earns it. That's your Furniture Industry News Briefing for May 11th, 2026. If you found this valuable, subscribe so you don't miss the next one. We'll be back with more.